You there? No. No, you're not. You're missing all the energy. I'm using it all up. All the energy's going out. There's nothing left. I'm crescendoing too high. I can't go much further. He's back. Oh no. He's coming.
What's up?
You missed it. I used all my energy while you were gone.
Well, hopefully it was something good and I can use for B-roll.
It wasn't. I'm really sorry. Wake up, everybody. Today is April 21st, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Sleepy Karch Palashi, joined by my co-host, Burping Jason Wright. If you decide you like us, or not, we really don't care either way. But you can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us over at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Burpin' Jason Wright, how are you doing?
I really wish I could have timed to burp with that because that was beautiful.
Oh, it would have been so good.
I am doing great, man. So I gotta tell you, a little weird thing that I learned this week. We've been watching a lot of this weird Bon Appetit channel on my TV. It's like an internet channel with Bon Appetit, but it just streams random episodes from their YouTube channel.
Interesting.
And we just put it on background noise because it helps keep our dog calm to have some background noise because it just levels everything out, right? So anyway, I'm sitting there on the couch after work earlier this week, and what I learned from Bon Appetit is that parsnips are a real food.
Yeah.
They're not just a farming sim made up vegetable like I thought they were for the game Stardew Valley.
They're delicious.
They're
a root vegetable, and you can mash them up like potatoes, basically, and they got a slightly different texture and taste, obviously, but they're pretty tasty.
I legit thought they were fake.
No. All hail the parsnip.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so that's how my week's going. I'm learning basic things in life. What about you, man?
I am not learning anything nearly as cool as that, but I did already know that, so I guess it kind of balances out.
Yeah,
But
it's easy to learn basic things when you don't know much.
you've set the bar low so you can soar so high.
Exactly.
No, it's been good. It's been dull. We were going to go strawberry picking, and we were going to be safe because it's a farm and there's nobody around if you don't want to be around them in a big field of strawberries.
Mm-hmm.
And then it rained all day Saturday, which was great because we needed some rain because it hasn't rained in like legitimately a month since the last time we had a good rain, and my lawn needed it. But that was the last day we could go before the season closed out. So
Really?
yeah, we were
That's a bummer.
we were hemming and hawing the last few weeks. It's like, oh, do we go? Do we not go? Because all the precautions. But we were like, oh, let's go have some fun out in the sun, and no strawberries, which is fine because we only would have been able to pick like 3 or 4 cartons because there's no room in our fridge because our fridge and freezer are stocked for needing to be at home constantly.
Do you know things about the seasons of fruits and vegetables because of Stardew Valley, or do you just inherently know them, or like how do you learn this? Because I feel like everybody other than me knows what the season for everything is, and I never know.
No.
And you could tell me anything. You'd be like, oh, it's apple season, and but it ends tomorrow, and I would believe you.
No, I have no idea, man. And if I pretended like I knew because of Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon, I would probably look like an idiot if I did. No, Rachel picks those things out. She's like, oh. And we went last year, and they have a Facebook page, this particular farm, and they're like, all up in your face when they open and when they close. So,
Okay.
All right, a little bit of housekeeping. So a couple of weeks ago, Jason mentioned the DualSense would look really cool in a more classic PS1 style. And then lo and behold, I found that very thing on Reddit the other day. So take a look at the video when you have a chance. Jason's going to be a sport, and he's going to put that image up. We have permission, and I'm going to go ahead and shout out the user. His name is or her name, I don't know, Glorious Crown. They created that mock-up when everyone else was doing their own mock-ups. And there were a lot of really cool ones out there. I'm sure you can still find a bunch of them, but this was my favorite. because of the PS1 style and how relevant it was to our discussion that week. So I would buy it for sure. So go ahead and take a look at that.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It definitely caught my eye because I think I saw this same one, but I didn't interact with the Glorious Crown like you did. But yeah, it looks really good. I think they did a fantastic job. And I gotta say, if I wonder with all these like mock-ups, one thing I kind of do wonder is I would assume PlayStation's probably not going to put the effort in, at least at launch, to do these different color schemed consoles. But I wonder if you could get like a skin to match this to go on the console, because I think that'd be pretty cool too.
Dude, I wish. I was just thinking about this. We were talking about Switch stuff, and a friend had bought a Switch Lite, and he got the yellow one because they couldn't get the coral because it was out of stock, but they wanted one really bad, so they just, they settled. And, I want skins, man. I don't want to have to buy a whole console or even necessarily a whole brand new controller if I want to switch it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing is that sometimes I just feel like the ball gets dropped on the design of these consoles. And I'll point to like the God of War Special Edition PlayStation 4. I don't think it looks very good.
It was safe. It was uninteresting though. Like why would I, unless by convenience I'm buying a PS4 and this is the one that's in front of me, I'm not going to get that. And if I was deciding at that moment when God of War came out, which was 2 years ago by the way, happy birthday God of War 2018. If I was deciding that, I'd probably still go with the black one.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I really like the PS4 Pro because I had an OG PS4 and then the glossy got scratched so easily. And I am super careful with my electronics and I never stack anything on top of it. I actually had my wife sew me a micro cloth sleeve that I pack it in if I ever take it anywhere. And I had like a dedicated backpack with a dedicated pocket. So like nothing ever touches this console and I still had scratches on it. And so the PlayStation 4 Pro is matte. And so like it doesn't scratch and it's like really, really soothing my anxiety about that.
My PS4 isn't glossy.
Really? Do you have like a PS4 like the Plus or whatever?
I have no idea, I guess. It's not a launch one, that's for sure, but
I had a launch one.
I got it like 3 years oh my gosh, how long have I had this machine? When did Overwatch come out? 2016?
I don't know. Now I have to specifically for the PS4?
Well, I mean it launched on all systems at the same time.
Yeah, 2016.
All right, so I've had my PS4 since about that year. Whatever. It's matte. There's no gloss to it. I also don't move it, and there's like a thick cake of dust right on top of it. I'm sure that
I'm sure that's great for it.
It hasn't complained yet. All right.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
enough ragging.
Go check out. It'll be on the video, and I can put a link in the comments as well. So
yes, please do.
Go give it a like. Glorious Crown.
Thank you. All right, Jason, tell us what we got wrong last week.
Okay, Greg. Start corrections music now. So this is more of just a clarification because we said we would clarify. It wasn't something that we necessarily got wrong. There was a discrepancy between what I thought and what you thought, but I said hasn't Ghost of Tsushima gotten delayed twice, and it hasn't actually been delayed twice. It only got delayed once. So it was originally The Last of Us 2 was supposed to come out February 21st, and then it got pushed to May 29th. And so the thought was, because Ghost of Tsushima didn't have a release date yet, everyone thought it was going to be pushed to fall 2020, but that didn't actually happen. So Ghost of Tsushima, the only release date that they announced was June, 26th?
26th or 29th, one of those two.
Well, anyway, my point is that is the only release date that has been announced, and it has not seen any delays at all. So I think what I was remembering were rumored delays and not actual delays. That's you can end corrections music. That's the only thing we even got close to getting wrong last week.
Because as always, we are perfect.
Right. And as always, if you cowards don't believe us, go back and listen to last week's episode, and you write in to neverfreetoplay@gmail.com and you prove us wrong. You tell us what we got wrong.
Yes, please. But not me, just Jason.
Yeah, just me.
Just Jason. Speaking of Jason, our first news item concerns friend of the show, Jason Schreier, with the news that he is leaving Kotaku. Now, if you didn't know, Jason Schreier is a big-time video game journalist. Some say the only video game journalist. Now, that's an argument I don't really feel like having right now, but he is very important in this sphere. He's been with Kotaku for a really long time now. I think it was, 8 years? Do you remember reading anything about how long he's been there?
No, I don't.
It's been a while.
But I think 8 years sounds about right. It's something right in that realm.
Not quite a decade, but he is leaving. He's been working real hard at getting scoops, both, surface level and real deep dives. So most recently, I remember reading a really long form article he did about why Anthem was so bad from just the ground up, and why and how BioWare had dropped the ball, and why it wasn't going to get any better anytime soon. And it was pretty much on the money for everything, because it definitely didn't get any better. And it was just, he wrote really eye-opening pieces about stuff in the industry that people don't normally talk about, because video games, first and foremost, are just fun entertainment. We consume it and we pay for it, and then we just move on to the next thing. We don't want to hear about bad stuff, but he spoke up about crunch a lot, especially the last couple of years. It's been a really strong passion of his, it seems. But he also just, he would have the scoop on, leaks and rumors that almost always came true. And he was very rarely ever going to report on something that wasn't, something he factually knew and that was going to happen. I don't think the rug was ever pulled out from under him, as far as I could tell. But he's a hack, because he's reporting on his own departure. The article was written by him about him. So you know what? Good riddance, Jason.
Yeah, get out of here, friend of the show. No, Jason Schreier, I just remember his stuff gets cited a lot on some of the podcasts that you and I listen to. And I remember listening to him on, it may have been some kind of funny content, but what I found interesting too about him is that it seemed like he just had a lot of journalistic integrity, and he, despite everything he reported, he actually said he didn't really enjoy playing spoiler for people who had worked so hard on a given game or whatever. And so I really appreciated that comment. And I thought it was just interesting that it seemed like I got the impression he knew a lot more than even he reported. So I appreciated his integrity. I appreciated the fact that he only reported facts. I appreciated that he did the deep dives, that he had these inside connections, and it seemed like he maintained his integrity and rapport with those people so that they were comfortable coming to him. And obviously everybody's got an angle and everybody's got kind of their political thing, and they write with some bias, but at the end of the day, he did really good work. And kind of like you said, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be working for Bloomberg News and their gaming department or whatever new thing they're coming out with. So yeah, he'll still be around. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, he'll start that up. I think he's done at the end of the month or the end of this week or whatever. And then he'll be joining the Bloomberg News Group or whatever their paper or whatever's called. I don't know. I'm not a newsman. I'm not an adult. I'm just a man-child talking about video games. But he starts mid-May. So that was cool. He dropped the news, and then, I don't know, yesterday I think he came out with his updated employment status. So, I mean, he always knew where he was going. It wasn't a secret to him. He had already planned it out. He didn't just quit on a whim. But basically, he was citing, I mean, for the most part, I think it was money. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. He says he didn't care for the parent company, but I don't think he's cared for the parent company that owns Kotaku for a really long time now. I just don't think he had a decent opportunity to bother moving away from his current position. And now he does. I'm sure they're throwing a lot more money at him than Kotaku is. Because that's a big pain point for games journalism in general, but then to have a niche section of journalism and media like video games, I can't imagine that they're paying even more. They're probably paying much, much less. And you see it all the time with people just kind of quitting and starting their own, like, kind of what would normally be considered riskier ventures, where, like, I'm just going to go stream now because the difference between Twitch subscriptions and writing this article and busting my butt for 60 hours a week is really not that big of a difference. And I can do this from home. So,
sure. Yeah. Well, good luck to friend of the show, Jason Schreier. Definitely friend of the show. Definitely not made up. We definitely know him.
His name is Jason. Your name is Jason. I mean,
I know all the Jasons.
Who wouldn't believe this?
Right.
I know all the Karches. It's not my fault. There are none. All right. Good luck, Jason.
Yeah.
Next up, we have big shadow drop news. Super Mario Maker 2 is receiving its final major update. I'm sure they'll patch fixes and do teeny things here and there, but the last bit of it is... Sorry. The doc told a funny joke, guys, and I had to laugh. No. So last night, about, 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, YouTube just popped a notification up on my phone. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, big Super Mario Maker 2 update. And they weren't kidding. It was about 4.5 minutes of lots of new suits, like the frog suit's coming. And that was one of my favorite suits in Super Mario Brothers 3. I always wore it whenever I could. I always picked it out of the mushroom house whenever I could. They're adding a Mario 2 suit. So basically you'll pick up a mushroom styled after Super Mario Brothers 2, which was the weird one that nobody really likes that much. And then you'll turn into that version of Mario, which was previously like not something you could do because they just kind of skipped over that game as far as the assets are concerned. And then it lets him like jump on things, but not stomp them. Because in Mario 2, you would jump on like one of the Shy Guys and you would just pick them up and like hold them over your head and then you could throw them. So it was really cool. Like it added this incredible new facet to just about every part of the game. If you add that, power up into the level you're building. And then finally, the biggest thing that people have been clamoring for, and it's really surprising it took them quite this long, but they're adding a world maker. So you can take the levels you build and then make one of those little, top-down 2D worlds that we had ever since Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World. They've got different palettes. You can do 8 different worlds with a maximum of 40 levels. And of course, they're shareable, so you can just make basically your own miniature Super Mario Brothers game however you want, and you can package that up and just give it to people, which is pretty much one of the coolest things on paper, and I can't imagine that it's not going to be really cool in practice too.
Oh, absolutely. It is insane the things you can do in this game and like the levels you can create, the levels people it's really hard to fathom unless you've played any of the Mario Maker games. I mean, my favorite thing to do with Mario Maker games is like drink with my brother and my dad and make levels that each other can't beat. But beyond that, there's all this other stuff you can do, and see what the levels that other people have created. And I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm sure everybody knows, but for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically like a level creator that Nintendo has given you this entire tool set, and you can make anything your heart desires. People are super, super creative. I know, like my brother, my younger, not Greg, but my even younger brother has made some really, really cool levels because he has the time to do it, especially being out of school right now. But they even have like a Link suit in this where you have specific Link weapons. Like you can get this sword or a bow, and people will make these themed levels where you have to use these certain weapons to progress. It's really interesting. And then adding the world maker aspect to that seems just, this is going to be really fun for anybody who's into this game, really.
Yeah, makes me want to buy. I mean, I already kind of wanted to buy it, and then I moved on. The feeling passed, but this is going to, especially once people start posting stuff. I don't know when it drops. Imagine soon. But once people start posting stuff on the internet and everyone's cool levels are showing up on Twitter and stuff, I'm going to be like, oh man, I should probably pick that up. But then I won't, because I'll remember it at $60, and it's not quite something I want to spend $60 on. So.
Right. Well, it's the time commitment to actually making a good level that prevents me from getting more into it. Because I did receive it as a Christmas gift from my youngest brother. And the cool thing about this game is you can actually play it online together, which was not the case in the first one. But like I can get on with him, and we can play his levels, we can play other people's levels, or we can enter a level together, and then he can like, quote unquote, give up and then just watch me play it by myself, which is kind of cool. So he's done that a lot. But yeah, it's really neat what they've done with this, and especially if you know somebody else who has it, I can see that being cool. I don't think it would be something that I would really, or I mean, it isn't. I own this game, and this is not something that I sit there and do to relax. Like I just don't have the time to do this sort of thing. I wish I did. I know my levels would pale in comparison to what other people have done.
Yeah. So Jason, this is the second thing, and then, well, really the third thing, because I didn't add it to the docket, but basically with the Direct Mini, or the Mini Direct, yeah, whatever, because they say it backwards, and I don't know why they do that. This, and then this morning they, we knew something was coming, but they still just dropped it out of nowhere at about 9 o'clock in the morning. Was the Animal Crossing update video of what's coming later this week that'll last us through basically the end of May. How do you feel about the Shadow Drop stuff that they've been doing?
I like Shadow Drop, Nintendo. I think it's kind of like Apple-esque almost, because Apple's is very much like the company that's like, here's this cool product and it's available in stores today. And it's just like, well, that is cool. That it's kind of a different thing than what they've been doing. Because like, if you'll remember, Nintendo Switch hype, I feel like it was a thing for like 2 straight years, and it just killed me. It like killed my heart to know, like, okay, obviously the Wii U is a failure, but I still owned a Wii U because I'm a Nintendo fanboy. And I'm like, when is the new thing coming? When is the new thing coming? When is the new thing coming? When is Nintendo going to compete? Because they just, I feel like they gave up during the Wii U era. And I wanted to see them. I knew they were maybe never going to be on top again, but like I just wanted to see people appreciate Nintendo again. And like at that time I had my youngest brother was born, and he was like, I don't know, 5 or 6, and like I really wanted to get him into Nintendo games, but like it was almost embarrassing being a Nintendo fan at that point. And so they started like building this hype, and what did they call it? Project NX. I can't remember. Yeah, NX. And it was like, what is the NX going to be? And it was just this cloud of mystery, and you were just like looking at all the rumors and you had no idea. And that can be exciting. But Shadow Drops are fun. Now, what about you, Karch? What do you think?
Oh, I love it. There's enough stuff out there. People are always going to announce stuff ahead of time, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's the majority approach to everything anywhere. But if they can keep this up and other people can start to adopt it, like as a, more common tactic as well. It's fun. It's fun to get stuff when you're least expecting it. Because
it reminds me of Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Because that's something people wanted for forever, and then they were like, boom, it's available in 2 months. There you go.
And it doesn't have to be a secret. People knew Bethesda was working on it. They knew it was coming soon, but nobody had any idea when they were going to announce it. And then they announced it, and everybody was still kind of caught off guard. I think they still did it at E3, but still, we know. No, it wasn't the announcement. It was how soon it was coming. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
But still, that was amazing too. That was like, I remember when Hollow Knight, we knew Hollow Knight was coming to Switch. And for some reason, and I mean, after the fact, it's easy to tell because I love the game, but for some reason, even before I had played the game and only seen 4 or 5 minutes of footage, I decided that this was the game for me and I needed to play it the second that it came out. And I was watching their E3 presentation, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And Reggie's on the video, and he's like, oh, also Hollow Knight's out right now. And I literally jumped up in the air. And I don't do stuff like that because it's embarrassing to think that I would be that excited about something like, a game just dropping. But I was like, yes. And it was only $15. And boom, I downloaded it right then and there, played it, later that day. Oh, it was so much fun.
And especially in a year where there isn't a lot known with what's Nintendo's plan for 2020. I think this garners a lot of positive PR for them, which I think is a good move, because we don't have a lot announced, and even you and I have talked about that. We don't have a lot announced for Nintendo in 2020, and so yeah, no, this is welcomed for sure. Mm-hmm. It'd be even cooler if it was like, here's the new Metroid Prime, but I'll take this.
Dude, I want that game so bad. I'll just take the trilogy too. But at this point,
I want the remastered trilogy because I never played them. Like, where is that?
I only played the first one, which is great and probably still the best one. But I'd still play the other two. They're supposed to be really good games on their own as well. But I will say one more thing on the Shadow Drop thing is that unfortunately, because of data mining and leaks, all the fun conversation kind of gets sucked out of the announcement. And not just because you have more time ahead of it to talk, because that's part of it. It's like, okay, if like you get a leak 2 weeks ahead of time, you get tired of talking about it by the time it comes out, but you also get the wrong impression. Like, if people get misinformation out there, or they just have like a negative take on something they think they're going to hate, you're not seeing the presentation like they intended. And it's kind of like what happened with the Mario Kingdom battle, that Ubisoft collaboration where it was the strategic, grid-based, turn-based kind of thing.
Right, Rabbids.
Rabbids, thank you, the Rabbids thing. Mario X Rabbids or whatever it was. That got leaked, and people were just ragging on that.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
I don't remember how I felt. I think it was pretty like, whatever, I'll just not play it. I think I just kind of wrote it off too. But then when I saw it, I was like, whoa. And how cool would that have been if that was the first time we'd seen it, And nobody would have poisoned the well. And thankfully, that game was amazing, and everybody ended up loving it anyway. But, just goes to show you, shadow drop everything.
I don't know about that, but...
Everything! Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have more sad news. More delays. Death Stranding's PC release has been delayed to July 14th, citing temporary COVID-19 related closure. It was originally slated for June 2nd. So that's not that far. It's about a month.
No.
Do you think
like
that's
5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Accurate?
What do you mean? Do I think that's accurate?
Like, what? Why would they delay it a month?
I don't know, but I do know that I looked that up earlier today. It is accurate.
No, yeah, I meant like, are they gonna like in 5 weeks? Are they gonna be like, actually, it's another month?
Oh well, I mean, maybe because I would imagine. I would imagine that maybe. So they've closed their studio in Japan. I think is what this is kind of going back to, is they've had to like physically close the building. So maybe they just needed 6 weeks because they're having to work remotely and it's not going as fast as they thought it would. That's the only thing I can think that the 6 weeks would really gain them. Or, I mean, I really don't know. Because the thing is like, okay, for The Last of Us Part 2, that one, you can kind of see, okay, it's a physical release thing. It's a production problem. But when's the last time you bought a physical release game on PC? This can't have anything to do with that.
No,
this has to be something on the developer end that they need that extra 6 weeks.
Yeah, and if I didn't know the piece about the building closing, like that's a big thing that takes a lot of people's time and resources and attention. So I guess that kind of makes sense as far as the very short delay, because like it's only a 5 week delay. That's nothing. What were they doing that they have to delay? I mean, I guess they did that with Final Fantasy too, though. So whatever.
Yeah. The interesting thing to note here is that Sony isn't actually the company that's publishing this on PC. It's actually 505 Games. So I found that to be interesting because as far as I can tell, this is not a Sony-driven decision. And so it feeds into the weirdness of The Last of Us being delayed, Iron Man being delayed, this being delayed, but it's not a Sony decision. And yet, despite all of that, Ghost of Tsushima is still set for June 26th. So as far as we know anyway, and I saw some news break today on Polygon that said that the Australian rating had come out, and so that points to it being on track still for that June 26th date. So as far as everybody can tell, it's still coming on June 26th, despite all these other delays around it, which is just like, to me, it doesn't really make any sense. Like, none of it makes any sense. And I can't tell if people are using this as using the coronavirus as an excuse to try to cover their tracks on some things that weren't going to schedule, or if it truly is that. I mean, not that it matters. It's still happening. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I mean, nothing makes sense right now. Life doesn't make sense.
True.
You got people out in the streets begging to get the disease.
Mm-hmm.
This is how cults start. Weird Firefly, Last of Us 2 style cults. Yeah, I don't think Sony owns Death Stranding. At first, I thought it was weird that they weren't publishing to PC, and that 505 Games was, but I don't think they own it. I think they just bought they published it to PS4, and they funded at least some of its development. But I think at the end of the day, the game is. Oh, I mean, I'll have to correct myself later on this, but it's a whole mess, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry, Death Stranding PC fans. You can mod it soon, but not quite yet. And then last, we have the NPD Group has released their stats. If you don't know what the NPD Group is, they are like consumer analysts. They just get lots of data for all consumer industries, not just video games, not just media, but like just everything. But they do break it out in really cool, like, easily digestible graphs and charts and stuff. And Matt Piscatella.
Nerd.
You don't like this stuff?
No, it's cool. It just graphs and charts. You sound like a nerd. That's
Graphs and charts are sexy. You're stupid.
Yeah.
So Matt,
sorry. Go tell us, Matt Piscatella, friend of the show.
Matt Piscatella, friend of the show. This is what he does these days. He's all about the graphs and the stats. And whenever this comes out, he gets it all up and he throws it up on Twitter for even more digestible ways to consume it. So just a quick few highlights. And first time doing this kind of stuff. I've never really looked into the stats before myself, but we'll have more interesting presentations next time, and we'll do fun comparisons and all that. But
to our own charts and graphs, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe, exactly. These are the number of friends of the show we have.
2 so far.
Oh, it's growing. The list is growing. So Animal Crossing is setting records, to no one's surprise, as one of Nintendo's fastest-selling titles. It was number 1 for the month of March. And it's also worth noting, though, that Nintendo, and this is always a little fun fact that gets brought up when we talk about stats, but to this day, Nintendo does not report digital sales to third parties. So all the means that these groups and analysts use to gather this information, they never have the digital sales for Nintendo. So even when Nintendo does really well, but not quite well enough to hit like the number 1 spot overall, you always have to wonder, it's like, man, the digital sales bump them up, and why does Nintendo not report on them? It makes zero sense why they keep that hidden. Because I bought
Nintendo's gonna Nintendo, man. But that's an interesting one to me because it's the fastest selling title, or one of the fastest selling titles. But despite not counting those digital sales, and with the coronavirus that the majority of these sales have to be digital. There's just like no way that they're not.
Yeah, maybe it's hard to say. Because it did kind of squeak by in Doom Eternal before even the GameStops and stuff started closing. But yeah, I don't know, because Japan is still very much a physical medium kind of country. They like their handhelds and they like their cartridges in their handhelds. They're not very big proportionately when it comes to digital versus physical. So maybe they don't want to, like, I don't know. It's weird. It's like you said, Nintendo's going to Nintendo, but just always a fun, because I think it was number 2 overall for software sales across all systems, losing only to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And you got to wonder, if it was number 1, wouldn't they want people to know that they were the best? Because the answer is yes, they do want people to know they're the best, because that's what companies do.
I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Nintendo is so bad at online and like digital distribution, you name it. If it's online, Nintendo's bad at it. I wouldn't be surprised if it came out sometime, like Jason Schreier, Bloomberg reports, Nintendo actually doesn't know how many digital sales they have.
No, because during their like what do you call them, the shareholder presentations, they do this at least once a year, if not twice a year. They let you know the actual sales. They give you the total sales for a given game. They give
there you go.
Their own,
and you can deduce. Yeah,
right.
I was being facetious. I'm just saying, like,
but I wanted it to be known that even though they do hide it from third parties, they do eventually come out and say total sales for like Breath of the Wild this year, and then you can know how well it did.
So one day we'll know.
One day. So that was Nintendo. MLB The Show 2020 was number 1 for PlayStation 4, to no surprise, because sports games do really well, and MLB The Show is a super popular baseball game. I think it's like one of the only baseball games, and people like it, so they buy it all the time.
Did they do like a COVID DLC where it's just like empty stadiums?
That would be so funny. They should.
Load up the game and it's like, nah.
This is the pandemic version.
Right. Is this going to be the last exclusive to PS4?
That's
MLB?
correct. So what Jason's talking about is up until now, or up until next time rather, the MLB The Show has always been a PlayStation exclusive, and it has been for years. And during contract renegotiations, it sounds like whoever controls the MLB video game licensing basically told the developers or Sony or whoever has it right now, is like, you got to put it on all the consoles. You can't keep it if you're not going to share it with everybody so we can make all the money. And so, of course, no one in their right mind is going to say, well, we don't want any more. They're just going to they're going to make more. That's the funny thing, is like, at no point does anybody make less money now. With it going to PC, Xbox, and maybe even Switch, it's going to make so much more money because baseball fans are going to be able to buy it everywhere. They'll make a smaller cut, obviously, but it's still money that they weren't making before.
Well, I think this just goes back to Sony's like very traditional mindset, and you see for this upcoming generation, they are very much the company who's taking a traditional approach to everything that they're doing, to marketing, to giving the information out about the console, to the fact that Xbox is very much becoming a play anywhere platform and not just a console, whereas Sony, for whatever reason, just feels like they're still so focused on console sales, even though it's been widely known for the longest time. It's like software is where you make your money. Consoles are oftentimes sold at a loss. You know, even if it's only a couple dollars per unit, it's still at a loss. So it's just interesting to see. Like, did they? I wonder what subset of people were buying PS4s for just MLB The Show. I mean, I can't imagine it was that many people.
People do it, dude. People buy this. People will buy it for, or rather, people will buy a console, not just a PS4, but any video game console, for a singular sports game or a couple of them. And if baseball's your jam, you're buying the PS4 just for that. You know, I'm not saying gamers do this, because then they have a whole, like, you know, like gamer enthusiasts like ourselves. Even if we like, I mean, you like sports to a degree, but you don't play sports games. But I mean, people do it. They buy consoles for, you know, knowing that Call of Duty is going to come out every year, but that's the only thing they play. They know the sports game is going to come out every year, so that's just what they're going to play.
That's offensive that you're not counting Rocket League as a sport.
It's not a sport.
It's an e-sport, you jerk.
Oh my gosh, esports. Ooh, we should
recognize us. Recognize us.
We should have that conversation someday. Guy, I'm an amateur professional gamer. Don't even don't at me.
So I feel like I'm making this NPD thing like a lot longer than it was intended.
Yeah, we can go as long as we want. Okay, so MLB The Show, number 1 for PlayStation 4. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, number 1 for Xbox. Resident Evil, so those were the top 3 on the top 3 consoles. I didn't see any information for PC. I don't know how that's handled, because it might be just a whole messy ball of wax trying to figure out, you know, across the multiple platform providers. Basically, it's mostly Steam, but you do have things like EA Origin, and now you have Epic Game Store and all that, so I don't know how complicated it gets. But
not to mention the subscription services.
I don't think they count those right now. I don't think they.
No, I don't think they do. That's a thing.
That's a ball of wax right there.
This is all going to change in the next 5 years, I would imagine. But yeah.
And so all these numbers, by the way, are based, I believe, I'd have to double check, off of software sales via dollar amount. So it's not units, it's who's making the most money. But I'm not sure about that. I'll have to double check. But just a couple more tidbits. Resident Evil 3 Remake and Doom Eternal launched in March, and they came out number 2 and number 3, respectively, for Xbox. But they are number 4 and 7 on PS4. And I thought it was really interesting that Doom did so much better on Xbox, relatively anyway, than it did on PS4. For all I know, it could have technically made more money on PS4, even at number 7. But it still it was still number 3 on best selling for Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to me, it feels like the Xbox ecosystem attracts more first-person shooter fans, and so it doesn't surprise me that much, because I think a lot of PlayStation gamers are probably more into like the third-person narrative-driven stuff that Sony makes. Whereas I think like the controller lends itself, the ecosystem lends itself, Xbox Live lends itself to first-person shooters more so than Sony. Like, even I feel more comfortable in a first-person shooter on an Xbox controller, and I honestly think it's the offset sticks versus the parallel sticks. But just something about the Xbox to me is just like, oh, first-person shooter. So it doesn't surprise me that much.
Sure. And to be fair, PS4 had 2 other exclusives launched in March. It was Neo 2 and Persona 4 Royal, which bumped Doom down a bit. So Xbox didn't have that competition. So if you were a fan of Xbox, you didn't have to worry about buying your 100-hour JRPG or your cool, Souls-like whatever that game is. I've not played Neo or looked into it too much, but it seems kind of fun. Either way. All right, that wraps it up for news as Jason so delightfully derailed us.
You're welcome.
Yep. So we're going to move on to what we've been playing. And for once, we actually played something together. Yo-ho, yo-ho, A Pirate's Life for us. We played Sea of Thieves just like we said we wouldn't. Jason, how'd you like it?
Dude, I loved it. It's so interesting because I looked at that video back for the Xbox. What was their live stream event called? Inside Xbox.
Right.
I saw the updated thing. I was like, oh, that looks so stupid. Like I said, it looked MMO-y. I said the controls looked dumb. I said the combat looked dumb. And to be fair, some of it was dumb, but the game itself is so much fun when you have 3 other people to play with.
It really
what about
was.
you? What did you think, man?
No, it was great. We played with our friends of the show, Sean and Robert, and
These are real friends of the show,
actual friends of real life people that we know the faces and names of. But no, it was great. I haven't played a game with more than 2 people in a really long time, like an online
for
game.
real.
And it wasn't competitive. I mean, at one point we got our ship like shot at, but I'm pretty sure that was like a bot. And we died.
We almost sent Karch to the brig.
You did almost send me. We ended up sending
competitive.
Robert to the brig of his own choosing. But to be fair, while the ship was sinking. But no, it was great. It is ugly. Like even for a game that came out 2 years ago, it's hideous. Yeah. Even with the stylized graphics that they have, like they're going for a look, and that's fine. But it still looks bad. I don't think it's very polished. As polished as it could be. Combat isn't fun at all.
No.
The entire game is 100%. Like, I don't know. I know you can play with like AI. I don't know how you do it. It literally seems both unfun and impossible.
I would not play this game by myself, ever.
No, never. Because it's dull. You would just be on this ship. You would have to just be the biggest pirate/video game fan of all time. Mm-hmm. Because all you do 90% of the time is you go to port, you get a map. The map has an island on it. The island has an X on it. You have to go to the other map in your ship, find it, set sail, which involves doing all the things you do on a ship. You gotta, let the sail out. You gotta steer. You gotta weigh anchor or what's the other one called?
I don't know. So the sail ankle?
Pull the anchor up. You gotta harpoon your friends onto the boat.
Yeah. So, but what I thought was interesting in terms of the design choice is these ships are designed such that one person can only do one job, which I thought was so cool. So what Karch was describing is you go to the hub world and you buy essentially a quest or a mission. It's like this a
voyage.
A voyage, yeah. You're going to go find treasure. You're going to go do a thing. Okay, cool. It gives you this little piece of a map where you can look at it, and it only shows you a very, very small subset of the overall world map, and it's got a grid on there. So like the top, the columns are like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the rows are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or whatever. And so what it does is it allows you to find a general area of where is this island going to be. And then one person has to be up steering the ship, and they have a compass. That's literally the only thing they have. There are no markers. There is no like, oh, I press select and I see the world map and where I am. That does not exist. So one person's steering there with only a compass. And then the other person has to go down into the bottom of the ship where you can see a live view of the world map and navigate the person steering to that section of the grid where if you zoom in on it, then you can tell by the shape of the island exactly where you're supposed to be going. And then once you get onto the island, you look at your mini map that's handheld and you can see where the X is. So based on the geography of the island, you can find out where to dig for that treasure or where to do that thing or kill that boss or whatever it is. So like Karch said, the combat's garbage. A lot of the stuff's garbage, but like that aspect of it, and then the communication that it takes and just it's kind of goofy. One person's got to be in charge of like letting the anchor down and letting the anchor up and setting the sail length and setting the sail anchor and making sure that you're not running into these other islands that aren't on the map. And if you do run into one island, then all hands on deck, you're going down. You got to find a board. You got to patch the hole. You got to bail the water out. Like all those aspects of it, as dumb as it sounds, so much fun.
Very fun. Yeah. Even as you describe it, I'm realizing, wow, this is way more of a simulation game than anything else I would describe it as, which is not what I would have expected. I mean, it's funny because this game is not new. These are not hot takes by any imagine. I've heard even the same things that you're saying said by other people before, but it didn't click until I played it. It didn't.
Agreed.
It's just one of those things you got to experience to really like, and and as dumb as it is, you start saying things like port and starboard and Jason's starboard. And Jason's like, I don't know which one's which. And I refuse to switch them.
I still don't know. But hey, I want to say this because I haven't had a lot of opportunity to say it. If you are an auditory listener, go to our YouTube. I have a little bit of our gameplay footage up there. It's nothing like fantastic. Like I just took a random 15-minute clip, but I'm going to put it on the YouTube video just so people can kind of see what we're talking about.
Yep. It's a lot of, if you got friends, play it with them. It's a lot of fun.
And it's on Game Pass.
Exactly. And
pay the $5 and play it, you coward.
It was really easy too. Like the thing that Jason hates the most, and I don't like it either, but I'm not as big a stickler, but the thing that Jason hates the most is not being able to play a multiplayer game with your friend like that. He just wants to jump in. He just wants to play. And guess what you can do with Sea of Thieves? For the most part, you'll figure it out, but pretty easily. You get in, you send the invite, boom, you're all crew now. Done. Nothing to it.
No tutorial, no blah, blah, blah. This is how you walk in a game. Cool. I've been playing games for 25 years. I know how to walk in a game, or maybe even longer. But I know how to walk in a game. You press the thumbstick forward. Thanks.
Does have that tutorial, and it walks you through. And some of it's needed. You got because you don't know how your items work and how your weapons work and all that stuff.
Well, Sean and I did it together, so it felt less bad.
And it's also very short. Even if you do it by yourself, it only took 5 minutes before I was on a boat sailing away. After the ghost pirate told me everything I needed to know about being a pirate, even though presumably I was already a pirate, so I'm not sure what he was talking about.
You just want to make sure you knew your thing.
I will say
it's like when people on the internet tell you how to do the thing you're already an expert in.
Exactly. I will say that
the podcasting. Sorry.
No, I love it. I want to be interrupted morning, noon, and night. And
great.
When my daughter goes to bed, who's going to interrupt me except you?
Right. Well, there you go. I'm here for you.
Can I speak now?
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't remember what I was going to say.
I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. Okay, now I'm really done.
What was that? Was that Party of Five?
Oh, was it?
Or is that?
Yeah, I think it was. By the way, they rebooted Party of Five on Hulu. It looks terrible, but
isn't the original still good?
I don't know. I think the original was more like a drama.
Progression. That's what I was going to say. I don't get it in the game in Sea of Thieves.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Party 5. Yep, go ahead.
I don't. It's not clear to me how. Okay, it's fun, but I can't imagine that they expect players to just literally race around the world and get treasure chests and maybe come across some other people and do some PvP stuff. Like it's not clear what I'm gathering treasure for, except there are obviously cosmetic items. I can put on a cool hat or get a pet or something, but there's got to be something to sink my teeth into to keep us coming back as a group to grow our crew.
My understanding was that you can get better weapons and you get more gold, and once you get more gold, you can buy more complex voyages.
Maybe, but I don't know.
So I don't.
Are for because we didn't fight anything that wasn't a pushover. As long as all four of us ganged up on it, if we got separated, it might be a problem. But
we were on the easy, free voyages, though.
Yeah,
and even sailing from point A to point B was kind of a challenge.
That's true. It was,
especially because the first time Sean and I played, you bailed on us, and we were in a 2-man boat. We were in a 3-man boat with 2 people. And I was trying to do. Sean had to steer. I'm terrible at steering every vehicle in every video game ever. I can't fly a helicopter. I can't steer a boat. I can't drive a car. Never ask me to steer anything. And so I was running like up the thing and pulling down the sails and doing the angle and doing the anchor and then going down to the map and telling Sean where to go and then coming back up and making sure we weren't hitting islands. And that's when we almost threw you in the brig.
You just wanted to see what would happen. And for those who are interested, you get thrown in the brig down in the underbelly of the boat. I don't know what the heck it's called.
And then we sink you.
And then you sink me. No, but you can't come out of the brig. It will make you stay in there. Even if everybody wants you out of the brig, you have to wait like 2 or 3 minutes before you can then vote to take them out. But we had a lot of fun playing our instruments because you get, drums and, accordions and banjos.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. And you start playing goofy stuff like Ride of the Valkyries for no reason. But it was a lot of fun. We'll be playing more as we rediscover the fact that we have friends and we can play video games with them online. It was like afterward, Robert was like, "Wow, I forgot how much fun it is to have friends and like why don't we do this more?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. We just don't."
You tell me, Mr. Psychiatrist person. Read my brain.
That is exactly what he does every day.
Yeah.
Jason, read my brain. What am I about to talk about next?
I'm going to have to defer to not Karch's brain, not my own ability to read his brain, but I'm going to refer to the doc and say that Karch is going to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's correct, because that's what you said. I was going to let you pick, basically, between that and the other thing. It's fine.
Yeah, thanks for giving away the magic.
Yeah, no problem. The doc... All right, so I played some more Final Fantasy VII. Still having a good time, but it's a little. Let's see, what was last time? The first time I talked about it?
Yes. We talked about the demo, but last time was the first time you talked about the full game. Yeah,
right. Because that's when it really. Man, that seems like forever ago.
We got to start doing this more often.
Every day, man.
Every day. Who cares about our kids or our families?
I don't.
Nope.
So I played some more Final Fantasy VII Remake. I only got about 6 hours further. I think last time I left off, I was 12 hours in, and I'm about 18 or 19 hours in now. I did run into a bit of poor pacing. So I met Aerith, very beloved character. And in this segment, it's just Cloud and Aerith. And in the original, it makes a lot of sense why they have this segment. For the character interactions and the growth and setting certain plot points in motion. And it's also just much shorter because the game overall, every beat is shorter because they've condensed or rather in the remake, they're expanding everything out. So it was a far more condensed story in the original. And this one, it took a while. And I guess I could have gone through faster, but I am taking my time and I'm doing all the side quests, which is something I never do. I never do all the side quests unless they're super easy or there's only like 2 or 3.
I only ever do them accidentally. I'm like, what? That wasn't a main mission. I wasted my time.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do in this one. It's very clear, like, these are stupid. And they're not that fun. I will say this is a kind of like a mark. And they're not the first game to have side quests that aren't fun. Funnily enough, they make sense in the world. The reason that you're doing all these dumb tasks, and they're not all dumb. Some of them are like, fight in this arena and fight this cool boss. I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds awesome. And that is fun because it's just combat and the combat's great. But some of them are like, hey, go find this cat. And you're like, why am I finding cats? Why am I finding kids around this slum yard and playing their make-believe games? And they're all like, oh, Mr. Cloud, Mr. Soldier, we love you. And that's kind of the point. You're just going around this town. You're building up your cred as a mercenary so you can get better work. Except you're never actually going to get better work because that's not how the story goes. So I don't know why they're doing that. Anyway, after that, you get to the big famous wall market section, which is like the wall market in the game is like this place of, like sin and debauchery. And it's basically like the slum version of Las Vegas.
Just like real Walmart.
No, not Walmart, Wall Market.
Oh, gotcha.
But I did make that joke several times in my head while I played. So,
well, there you go.
It does have in the original game and in this one, it is a bizarre departure from everything that you've been doing up until that moment, and there's nothing like it throughout the rest of the game. So, it's
spoilers.
Well, not really, but it is very weird, and there are some sequences. And Rachel was watching me, and She probably still loves me, but she definitely lost a little respect for me as I did lots of squats with these guys in a gym so I could beat them at squats.
Mm,
And it was
that
basically,
sounds sexy.
it was, it was.
I think Rachel was liked that. I think I know Rachel pretty well, and I feel like she would have liked it.
Yeah. She was simply hiding. Sorry, baby. But I did get to fight the Hell House.
Cool.
Long-time fans will know what that means, but I like the way they implemented that. It's literally a house. There was an enemy in the original, and it was just a house, but it was also a monster. So like there was something like in the house, and then it would explode out with like arms and stuff if you did enough damage to it. They turned it into a boss, and that was really cool. So yeah, about 19 hours in, I'm about to hit a really important moment, and I can't wait. I should be getting through that probably sometime in the next couple of days, and it's gonna be quite emotional. So I'm excited.
Well, let me ask you this: you say kind of poor pacing. Is that due to the source material or the artistic choices that they've made to do the remake? I mean,
I guess it's both. Because like I said, in the original, it plays out very similar in this regard. There's very little departure. So like Cloud gets separated from the party and he meets Aerith, and then they go on this little, kind of side trek as she tries to help him get back to his friends. And that's exactly what you do in the remake. But instead of it being just like a 45-minute sequence in the game, which is for the most part just a few fights, running through a few screens and some dialogue, it's like a 4-hour long process in this one. And then you get to Wall Market, which is another like 4-hour process almost. So
okay.
And the problem is that there isn't a lot of combat especially in Wall Market. They actually had to squeeze some combat in, because Wall Market was, in Ocarina of Time, where you have to like go back and forth between a lot of people and get an item, give them to the other person, and then another item.
Yeah.
It's got that kind of feel to it. It's a bit of almost I don't want to call it a mystery, but you do have to do some sleuthing. It doesn't like hold your hand very well. It's like you go talk to this person, you get a clue, and then because you're looking for Tifa and this whole thing, and it's fun because again, in the original, it's short. It doesn't take that long, and in this one, it's fun. And overall, I appreciate how they fleshed it out, and I love seeing the characters and this entire like place, which is just, it's seedy and there's like terrible people and it's neon, but it's also still really flamboyant and like kind of goofy. It's this weird kind of juxtaposition thing, but it's slow. There's just no way to describe it. It's a bit of a slow section. Mostly, I would have to say, because the combat is either lacking in content, it's just missing, or what is there is like, oh, we just put this in here so you wouldn't get really, really bored.
Mm-hmm.
So
here's what I recommend.
Go ahead.
Hand the controller to Sean and say, hey, man, you got to do this for me. And then he knows how to get the Bigoron sword. He knows how to defeat Mirror Link. And I know it takes about 12 interactions to get that sword. And you can't get the fake sword because it'll break.
It will.
And that's how you do it. You hand it to Sean and you say, hey, bud, do me a solid. No, but for real, I'll be interested to hear once you hit that big moment what you think of the other side of this, because it's weird because I've heard this criticism from other people of like, oh, there's a section where it slows down. Mm-hmm. And then I've also heard like a lot of people unhappy with the ending of this part of the remake. And so it'll be interesting to see if there are any more kind of quote unquote highs throughout the rest of the game. Because you're pretty much about like 2/3 in at this point.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what you think about that.
It's about to hit the fan in terms of like so far everything's just kind of been like, everything's bubbling under the surface, or it's been kind of like light and fun and fluffy. One of the first major impetus, catalysts, whatever the word I'm looking for is about to happen, that kind of sets a lot of things in motion, and it doesn't stop until the end. Because like I know where the game ends now. I know the moment that the game basically says, and that's it, end of part 1.
Do you know that for inference, or did you look it up?
I've seen enough comments and heard enough people basically refer to the general area where it ends, and then knowing the original game, like, okay, that's where it, and that makes sense. That makes sense. Sure. Where it ends. So I don't know what's got everybody's, what everyone's really upset about regarding that. Not everyone. Some people love it. Some people don't. It seems very split, though. I don't know why people don't like the ending. I'm a little worried because the guy who's in charge of this game, Tetsuya Nomura, is also the guy who created and directed and pretty much has everything to do with the Kingdom Hearts series. And I do not care for how he handled a lot of things in the more recent titles, specifically Kingdom Hearts 3 and Dream Drop Distance, which were the two most recent. He started doing a lot of crazy stuff that doesn't make any kind of sense. So hopefully he doesn't do anything too, because like I don't mind the change. I've welcomed the change and I like it because it makes sense. But if he's going to throw change in for the sake of change, then I'm going to be like, but what was the point though? You already had, like, especially in a situation like this, when in doubt, just fall back to the story that you have because it works and people like it. You know, no one's going to fault you for saying, following certain beats because that's what they expect you to do. You don't have to wow us at every turn, but we shall see.
Yeah, you got a week to beat it.
I do?
I don't know why I'm giving you a due date, but...
Oh, man. First you make me play a Hatoful Boyfriend, and now you're making me play this faster.
Yeah, I am. So yeah, tell us about Hatoful Boyfriend, my friend.
Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to have like an ironically good time with this. And part of the problem was I waited till like this afternoon to do it. So I did it on my lunch break and I wasn't cozy or anything like that. And I felt like I had to just kind of squeeze it in. But for the most part, it was a pretty terrible experience. So, Hatoful Boyfriend, as we described at the end of the episode last week, is a visual novel style game. And if you've never played one of those, basically you take the role of a character. And it's usually a first-person perspective, and you interact with people almost always in like a youthful setting, so like school-age children, not like elementary, almost always like high school or college, usually like late high school, like seniors and juniors and stuff. And usually you're a boy, sometimes a girl, but usually you're a boy. There's a bunch of girls, and you basically just pick the one you want to get with. And you talk to other characters and you develop relationships and you make dialogue choices. But to its namesake, it's a visual novel. You are for the most part just going through a very pre-planned story with minor changes here and there depending on what you choose. And then you have a love interest that you just kind of like focus on, or maybe you don't pick one. They're all a little bit different, but that's the gist of it. So Hatoful Boyfriend takes that and makes a parody out of it. And you're actually a girl.
You're pigeons, right?
Well, I'm not a pigeon. I'm a human.
Oh, okay.
I'm a human in what appears to be some sort of post-apocalyptic Japan. And it's kind of like really glossed over that that humans have mostly been wiped out. Like it's not until, I don't know, 20 minutes in that I realize that I actually live in a cave. I don't have a house. Why would you?
I
also didn't realize that I'm a girl. Like, the main character is canonically a girl, so I named myself Karch because that's my name.
Well, of course.
And all the pigeons are boys. But because birds, especially the male birds, and I think that's probably why I did it, male birds typically look more fancy than their female counterparts. Most birds, like robins, for instance, the robins are the ones that look red, whereas the females look dull brown and gray almost all the time. Peacocks look way fancier than the peahens, etc.
Well, is that any different from humans?
The men look better than the women. No, it's the same. They call that sexual dimorphism when the men and the women look different. Anyway, so I'm a girl, and there's all these pigeons, and it's supposed to be a parody, but it doesn't do enough. And because they're clearly like some guy or maybe two people just kind of, and they did a great job, just throwing this together, but like, it's not good enough of a parody. It almost just feels like a really, 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 really bad attempt, like honest attempt at this kind of game. And it's not funny enough to really like, it's too reminiscent of this genre. And I don't like this genre for the most part. There are very rare occurrences where I would like to play a visual novel game. And usually in that situation, there's an additional component or gameplay hook. Like, for instance, have you ever played the Ace Attorney series?
I have not, but I know what it is.
Phoenix Wright. So very similarly, like you play the role of Phoenix Wright, who is a defined character. He's not you. He's Phoenix Wright. He's a lawyer, and you play with Phoenix and you investigate crimes. But then there's the huge culmination in the trial where you go through that, and that's the gameplay, really. Yeah, there's a lot of talking and you learn about people, but you're not making decisions. You're solving a puzzle. Similarly, Persona 4, Persona 5, all the Persona games have this kind of component as well, where you're making friends and making decisions on which classes to take. For instance, in this game, every time it gave me an option, I would go to music class and raise my charm up, which meant my wisdom was down really low. And I kept failing all my tests. And my bird teacher was really disappointed in me. I also played the character kind of stupid, like not in like a herder, I don't know anything way, but just like I don't know how to function as a person who interacts with people. And that ended up being my downfall, because near the end of my playthrough, about 40 minutes in, after one day passed, not just one day, but after the day ended, like the screen went black and you get this text box, and somebody on the quote unquote Hawk Council is talking about me in some sort of shadowy way. Like apparently I was an experiment. I was supposed to be like an ambassador for the humans left over to the pigeons, who are only recently become intelligent. This is a very new occurrence in the world. Pigeons have not always been, super smart creatures in this society. But apparently I'm not meeting their expectations. So they just kill me. Like the game ends, I die 40 minutes in because I didn't make any meaningful connections.
Oh my gosh, I would be so mad.
Well, the thing is, like I said, it took me 40 minutes. This game is clearly intended, and like as I was playing, I was like, wow, you are going through this at quite a fast clip. Like you're going through, I got through the third semester after only 40 minutes. And sure, I was playing a little fast just to get through it, but I was trying to court this one really
hot pigeon.
Well, yeah, it was. It was the fanciest pigeon. It was a fantail pigeon, and they had this huge fan, but he was like this total jerk. He was like a noble pigeon, and he was from France. He was really haughty, and he hated me. But I was like, I'm going to make friends with you. But then he invited me to his Christmas party, and I rejected him, and I stayed at home in my cave.
Why?
Because that's the character I was playing.
Feel like, see, this is always your downfall in RPG is that you get too into the character. You get too into the character you're playing to allow you to actually be good at the game.
Yeah, but that's what the R in RP, or the RP in RPG stands for. It's a role-playing game. I have to be true to who I am in Pigeon Nation society.
I mean, I can't fault you for that, but you died, so obviously you were a terrible human.
Yeah, I'm never playing this game again. Not even for fun. If you make me play it, I'm not gonna play it. I'm just gonna burn the podcast to the ground.
No, I got a different one for you this week if you lose.
Awesome. So yeah, I played, and if you're watching the video, you can see some clips. Now, that's gonna be about as dull gets. It'll be like watching paint dry.
Yeah, but usually I just put up like a picture of like the title art or the cover art or whatever, so it'll be a little more interesting than that.
That's true. And you can see me speed read my way through the parts that I didn't find that interesting.
Yeah, maybe I'll chop it up a little just to kind of make it more interesting, just to kind of see. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just throw it in there and you'll get 7 minutes of this or whatever. Who cares?
I mean, it would have been a lot more fun if we had played it together, or if I had gotten my voice capture like I intended to, and you could have heard my thoughts on the matter, and then we could have just posted that as a video instead of me trying to ramble my way through it. But
no, I think we would still want you to ramble your way through it, but then we'd point people to the video, the full video clip.
Of course.
Because I think that's going to be the plan moving forward if we are able to, is to point people and upload the gameplay stuff.
Right. But basically,
separately.
If you've never played a game like this, you won't understand what it's doing, and it's just going to be the worst experience for you. So don't even play it for like goofy fun, because you won't get it. It won't be funny to you. It's not even worth the quote unquote freeness that, like I got Xbox Game Pass for Ori in the month of March. And so, I can basically call this game free. But even still, it wasn't worth my 40 minutes.
Suck it. You thought you were getting something good. It was Devolver Digital. You said that you thought people liked it unironically, and you were wrong.
Yes, I was. So you did good.
Yeah, great. I'm glad. I like a nice punishment every now and then.
Yeah, we all deserve
when I'm the punisher.
All right. I had some gripes Jason had some gripes. I'm gonna skip those for next week, maybe.
You're gonna skip the gaming gripe of the week?
We got some questions to get through, man.
Okay,
Do you want
that's
to talk
fine.
about it?
Yeah, no. We're at like an hour and 10 minutes ish. So
Yeah.
we'll gripe next week.
We've always got something to gripe about,
Absolutely.
but we've got questions from true friends of the show, Sean and Josh again. We'll start with Sean's because he always sends this in a little faster. Josh, if you could get your question in sooner, I appreciate you liking my Twitter post though. So
Yeah.
anyway, so from Sean, hey fellas, I like that there's a gaming related consequence to the "is Greg the worst?" Makes it feel less tacked on. Screw you, Sean. Question for this week. So you mentioned some gameplay mechanics in the second podcast that you didn't like. What are ones that you do like or that blew you away at the time? Wind Waker with Link actually looking at important things jumps to mind for me. I do remember that, Sean, and it was pretty great. So Jason,
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
nah, you go first.
Okay. So for me, I don't know if you would classify this as a mechanic per se, but anytime a game can weave exploration into the main story, and so like the example I'll go to for this is Skyrim. When I mean honestly, I played this game for like the 10th time last year, and even going through it, when you think you're lost and you think you're in the middle of the nowhere and you think you're off the beaten path, you will just like something will in this environment will trigger you to look deeper, and then it ties back into something you were supposed to be doing, be it a mainline quest or a very important side quest. So it's always interesting how they can do that. And so like I don't have a specific example, but it will be something like I'm hiking up a mountain, I see an odd looking cave, I'll go in, I'll kill some bandits, but then I realize that that's not the end of the cave, and I'll keep going and going and going, and maybe I stumble upon like an odd looking item, and I'm like, this is interesting, and I'll pick it up, and then later on I'm in town, and some bartender will be like, oh yeah, if you've ever been up on this mountain, there's a thing I'm looking for, and then you could be like, oh, give him the thing, and then all of a sudden you're on this whole other side quest thing that kind of ties back into, like I said, either a mainline plot point or a very important side quest. So anytime a developer can give you this sense of exploration, like you are just off where no other gamer has ever gone before, and yet tie it back into something super important to the core gameplay, that design ability blows my mind. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Karch, because I know you don't play a lot of games. Like, you don't love Western RPGs.
Not Skyrim style games. It's funny you mentioned Skyrim because I was just thinking again, maybe I'll give it a fourth try against my own better judgment. But no, I mean, and a lot of people like didn't understand Breath of the Wild. I'm just going to say that. That's the game I'm about to talk about. Breath of the Wild does this basically to a T.
Absolutely.
And I know Skyrim was an inspiration, and I know I don't like Skyrim, and I'm like the least authority on it, but I'm going to say they did it better. I'm going to say Breath of the Wild did that sense of look under that rock, look behind that tree, but obviously not as literal as that, but like just pull at that thread. Pull at that thread and see where it goes. And a lot of the time it was pretty obvious, like especially when it comes to like Korok seeds, those were like your little breadcrumbs, like, oh, there's a Korok seed here. But finding a shrine where you had no business finding a shrine, and not just you didn't just like trip over it, because those were there too. You would just like, sometimes you would walk around a corner, oh, there's a shrine, cool. And sometimes you would go on a really in-depth quest and find a shrine, or somewhere in between. And the way that the main story, and I don't want to get into like too far into the weeds on like why I think Breath of the Wild's main story is amazing, but like because it wasn't as urgent to complete immediately, and like playing the game for 80 hours was the main quest, and then going and finishing it was like the rest of the game. It allowed you to feel freedom to explore. And because the exploration was rewarding, the loop was very satisfying.
Yes.
So, I know exactly what you're talking about. And like I said, I don't know why I don't like Skyrim, but I like what we're talking about right now. And I felt that I was more at home playing Breath of the Wild, and to a smaller degree, Horizon Zero Dawn. It was a more a little bit more on rails, which I actually do enjoy, but there was still a healthy amount of exploration, but specifically rewards for exploration in the backstory it would give you on like, because in Horizon, it's a post-apocalyptic world, and um, it's, finding out what the heck happened in the past is a huge part of that. And the way they give you that story when you go and explore this random cave rather than just giving it to you when you hit the certain marker is always really fun.
Yes, environmental storytelling that you have to search for.
Mhm.
Because the thing is at the time when you're doing it, you're like, I am the smartest man alive. But then you're like, oh no, that was a really important story beat. Like everybody had to do that. But they somehow designed it in to draw you to that area, make you want to do that thing, make you want to pull that thread.
Yeah.
That's the part that blows my mind. How do they tap into your brain and make you want to do that? It's insane.
And sometimes you, even afterward, when you think, like, did other people experience that? Like, when you're not even sure that it was a main story beat. Like, sometimes
Right.
it's not obvious, and that happens a lot in all three of the games that we just talked about. Um, like, and then you can go online later and you can, or talk to friends, and you find out for them a lot of the times that wasn't something they might have done, or they did something that you didn't do. And that's not new. That's an experience that people have been having for a long time now, but it doesn't get old.
No, it makes those games very special because everybody has a different experience with them. But you still get like the main part of it.
Yeah.
What about you, Karch?
So, kind of similar to you, but very different. I enjoy storytelling told through combat and gameplay. I mean, obviously, exploration is gameplay, but this is a more focused way of doing it rather than this kind of generic, like just play the game and the story will unfold itself. Well, of course it will. That's how games work.
Yeah.
So, my specific example is Undertale, which is I guess it's a turn-based RPG. It's a really loose description of it. Modeled after.
Reminded me, sorry not to cut you off, but it really reminded me a lot of like I got this vibe like the first time I ever played Pokemon.
Yeah, kind of.
Oddly. I mean, I know it's different, but like it just, I don't know, there was something about it that grabbed me the same way, but
because Pokemon before and really after, there was nothing like it. And the same thing is true with Undertale. It draws a lot of inspiration both in design and aesthetic from Earthbound, but it's really not an Earthbound game, which is technically just turn-based RPG. But so I'm just going to read what I wrote. Every fight is a story. Like every fight, you go against an enemy. That enemy has it's technically a type, but it has a name. You're technically fighting like the individual. You're not just fighting a monster, because everybody's a monster in Undertale. You're fighting that person. Like his name might as well be Frank, and in some cases it's very glib, and the character's name might actually be Frank. So some, but really most are silly fights. Some are cheesy, and some are actually just downright depressing. So in an Undertale fight, you see the enemy on the screen. I guess you can call it first person. It's not even really that. You go to a totally different screen. You're a little red heart in a box, and then basically it's just a bullet hell situation where the enemy throws stars or dots or waves or something. You got to move that heart around and not get hit, so your HP doesn't go down. But what makes it so unique is that you have lots of options. You can kill everybody, and that's what we refer to as the genocide path. And each little battle is a story of what you decided to do with that person, and every decision you make in those battles and the result that comes of it informs your character's personality and how people view you, the kinds of dialogue options you're going to get. And but there's always an option to not kill. There's an option to sometimes, do some damage, but then walk away or run away, because you can always run away. You can run away from everybody if you want, or you can basically use a kind of a diplomacy tactic and talk to them, and then eventually, quote unquote, spare them, I think is the mechanic they use. And then that person just leaves you alone, and then you go about your merry little way. But you can choose to do whatever you want at every moment. And obviously there is an overarching story, but it changes dramatically based on specifically how you handle combat. And the fun thing is that, like, it kind of bumps up against what we were talking earlier with the visual novel, where there's no real gameplay and you're just talking, reading, and making an occasional decision. But it never actually does that because you are still always in battle. And it's so hard to describe. Like, it's easy to see and experience. People don't always get it, or it doesn't click with them, and that's a totally different thing in general, but it is hard to just talk about Undertale. So if you've never checked it out, especially you, Sean, I think you would like it a lot, actually. Play it. It's very cheap. It's very short.
I think it's on Game Pass, too.
Is it really? Okay.
For the record. Yeah, I think it is.
So it's even cheaper then. But it's very short because it's meant to be played multiple times. And you can play all the version or all the storylines in that game, do the playthroughs in a very short amount of time, even when you consider all 3 of them or all 4 of them or however many there are.
I really like that it's not just binary, because that always is kind of like, Like, even in BioShock, you save the little sisters or you don't save the little sisters. That's very binary what the outcome of that is, and it's honestly not super impactful to the ending that you get or the story. It's just kind of a little thing in there.
Yeah.
But whenever they can do something like this, that is always really, really neat to see how they did it.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, from the highest level, there's probably only like 4 different endings, but those endings are significantly different from each other, and some of them you can't get until you've done the other type of ending. And then some of them are brutally hard to do, and some of them are very easy to do. But yeah, there's nothing binary about Undertale, in no sense of the word.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we had another question this week from Josh. Do you want to talk about that?
Of course. Why wouldn't I? I love Josh.
Yeah. Who doesn't, right? So this one says, hey guys, with all the buzz about Final Fantasy VII Remake and how well it has been done, if you could choose any game to be remade in the same way, what would be your choice? For any reason, whether that is nostalgia, great story, but mechanics dated, or etc. So that's a really good question.
It is. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I kind of did similar thing that you did, because I was having a hard time thinking of these games. But I just kind of gave a list, and then I'll have my decision here at the end. But the first thing that popped into my mind for some reason was Superman 64, because it's easily touted as one of the worst games of all time, and I will not get into it right now. Just go look up a video if you haven't.
Why not remake it?
What?
I said, so why not remake it?
Exactly. You have nowhere to go but up. Nowhere to go but up. Because, like, first of all, basically all this is, all I'm saying is I want a good Superman game. Because they've made a couple other ones. For the most part, they were just like side-scroller beat-em-ups. And while those were fun, it's fine. It's just a side-scroller beat-em-up, and people want more out of that. And I think somebody could do it. I don't know who it is. I'm not about to pretend like I know which developer or person could like bring home the Superman vision. But playing a game as good as Batman Arkham Asylum and playing a game as good as
I was gonna say Rocksteady, by the way.
I mean, that's what everybody says, but that just sounds like the dumb answer, because like people are just saying that because they made the Batman game. Like, okay, that's fine, but how do you handle the Superman problem where he's basically immortal? Well, so is Kratos in God of War, but you fear for him and his allies and stuff, and he's in danger.
So Sony Santa Monica is what you're saying? No,
I'm just saying, like,
no, I'm kidding. Keep going.
I'm just saying there's a world now, like we've come to a point where a Superman game can be done correctly. Sure. I don't know what that looks like, but I want it. Diablo 2. I want that to I just want it to look good. I want it to be almost identical. I might want a little more stash space. Obviously, I want it to work on a modern platform without having to jump through a huge amount of hoops. I want it to look better, but I don't want them to touch anything. They can tweak just a couple things, just a few balance things. It doesn't even have to be multiplayer. They could remake this game as single player only or local multiplayer.
No, I need multiplayer, man.
Me too, but not like with randos.
No. I loved that aspect of it, and what I would need from them is to please not touch the thing where you make your own game, and the title of the room is whatever the goal of the game is.
It's so simplistic. I wish they had just kept that for all games going forward, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm doing bail runs. Oh, I'm looking for a Shaco. I'm trading this. Like, that's the name of the game. If I want to do that thing, then I join that game.
Agreed.
I want that.
And then they would also need to let you transfer all your stuff from. No, we need to start fresh. It's got to start.
Yeah, no, everybody's got to start fresh. Too much bots and blah,
Exactly,
blah, blah.
because the security would be so much better in a modern game because bots have pretty much destroyed, in a manner of speaking, they've destroyed the Diablo 2, user base because it's all bots now, or people who play with the bots and have learned to live with them in such a way that it benefits them.
Like the Matrix.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I also would like Ocarina of Time remade, but in the highest fidelity possible. I want the best looking game video games can offer. And that's it. I don't want them to change anything else. I mean, they can flesh out a few things here and there and punch up the dialogue a bit because, it's old and it's never.
I don't think they need to.
Not a lot. Like just small, subtle strokes here and there to not damage. Because for the most part, that's a perfect game.
Yeah.
There's very little about the pacing, the overall story, the combat.
They can take Ciri's all her voice acting out.
Say again?
They can take all of Ciri's voice acting out.
Oh, Ciri. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, listen. Hey.
No, they got to keep that too.
No, get rid of that.
No, the memes would be too good. So my real answer, though, that I settled on, especially after seeing personally what Final Fantasy VII Remake was capable of, and since that's kind of like the theme of Josh's question is, we are now in a reality where a KOTOR Knights of the Old Republic, which is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, where if they remade that or rebooted it or even just made a sequel that kind of set itself apart from the other ones, could work in a modern era without losing its charm. Because for the longest time, people have been talking about, let's remake this game, but they'd ruin it. They'd make it Mass Effect, but Star Wars, which is what Mass Effect already was. Mass Effect was KOTOR, but with sci-fi guns. And they would just do that, kind of leapfrog over Mass Effect and be like, we'll just do that. It'll be like Dragon Age in space. I do not want Dragon Age in space. I want KOTOR. I want a remade KOTOR. I'll take a sequel. It doesn't have to be a remake, but like I said, you have the really good backbone and structure of the first game, and you could just build on that a bit. And it's all there. Just make it look amazing. I think the combat could stay, mostly the same. Keep that D20 feel. Keep that D&D root in there, because otherwise it's not KOTOR. It's just.
What if they did something like they did with Final Fantasy VII with the combat, though?
That's what I'm saying. Find a way to do the same thing. However that translates for KOTOR, do the same thing.
Yeah.
As they did for Final Fantasy VII.
Well, they made that. So Final Fantasy VII had turn-based combat, but then they made it into this real-time hybrid.
Right. And like I said, most importantly is keep the D&D inspired role-playing mechanics. It doesn't have to be turn-based, but don't get rid of my character sheet, my skill points. And in KOTOR, you can't do the Skyrim thing. And this is a part of why I don't like Skyrim, even though I never actually played very far into the game. I don't like games that let you be amazing at everything, even at the end of the game. I want to eventually be locked off from something if I chose another thing.
Well, and that's what I loved about Diablo 2, to be kind of going back to that. If you want to restat, okay, fine, then you jump through the hoops and restat, but I'm not going to give you that option from the get-go.
Right, but that just means you still make the game enjoyable for someone who decided they were going to be the meathead two-handed swordsman. Because what happens in these games is, funnily enough, what happens even in Skyrim is it's too easy to be a stealth archer. It's too strong for D&D. We're going to take this out of video games for a sec. In late game campaigns and high level campaigns in D&D, it's less true these days in the more recent editions, but in 3.0 and earlier, if you weren't a spellcaster, you were useless. You couldn't bring anything to the party except maybe be a distraction for the first couple of rounds.
Well, that's a midgen. I had a dragon. Anyway, sorry.
We were low level. And also that was just a goofy campaign that Sean molded around us because he was a master DM. Anyway, my final answer, KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic.
That is a great answer.
Thank you.
So my thoughts for this is that it needed to be a game that would benefit from an upscaling in graphics, but the underlying game was fun and would still hold up. That way you wouldn't have to do too much tweaking to it. Kind of similar with the Knights of the Old Republic thing, where you just wanted to be the same game but prettier. So the kind of the inspiration I drew off of was like Link's Awakening. I think this did a really good job of it. Resident Evil 2 Remake recently did a really good job of it. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII. And then I was thinking maybe, because I was thinking something from the early polygonal era, because those are games where I feel like it was on that cusp of like, these are good games, but they're butt ugly and they have a lot of technical limitations. And so like I was thinking, oh, maybe Siphon Filter. Did you ever play that game for the PlayStation 1?
I had it. I never got past the first level. I didn't know
Me neither.
what to do.
Yeah, me neither.
And I think discovered game facts yet.
I really enjoyed it though. Like I thought it was cool in the combat and the stealth. There were like some stealth elements and like, but then I was like, yeah, but I don't think that game would hold up. So then I thought, oh, maybe Mario 64, but I feel like Mario Odyssey is essentially a spiritual successor to that. And that's definitely scratched that itch for me.
Has it?
Yeah. For me.
All right. Because it was a great game. Don't get me wrong. Really great game. Great game. I'm going to say it one more time. Great game. But
yeah, don't offend people.
There was like this odd emptiness to it at the same time that by the end of it, after I'd spent, I don't know, the 30 something hours and collected the 500 moons, I was like, I don't know. I just don't feel great. As fun as that game was, I don't feel like I finished it for some reason. I don't know.
That's because all games have to be 1 million hours these days. So
maybe, but that's not me. I don't have to have that.
No, I know. Well, anyway, for me, the person that just beats the main part of the game and is like, okay, cool, I did it. Roll the credits, and I'm like, yeah, I feel good about this. Odyssey scratched that itch for me. Like, I don't really feel like I would benefit any. Like, I've played Mario 64 on like the DS upscale.
That game sucks.
Well, I still played it, and I had fun with it. I was like 14 or 15, man.
You were an idiot, 14, 15.
I guess so. I was just psyched to be playing a 64 game handheld at the time.
It was totally dope, dude.
Yeah. And on 2 screens. But yeah, no, I felt like this had to be something iconic, something that would definitely benefit from the graphical upgrade. So my final answer was GoldenEye 007. Because that game was one of those really early first-person shooters that had tank controls, and like they really hadn't figured out how to translate first-person shooter controls to a controller. And so just that in and of itself would be awesome to have on like an Xbox One controller. And then just the visuals being upgraded, because I just loved that game so much. And I think the multiplayer, I don't even honestly know what the single player part of it was. The multiplayer would be so much fun. And then add to that, obviously Nintendo 64 didn't have online multiplayer. So then you could add online multiplayer to an already awesome multiplayer game. Like, I'm totally in.
Interesting choice. Do you think it brings enough to the table now? Like, what GoldenEye was pioneering in that it was the first console shooter that a lot of people played. It was the first shooter a lot of people played because they didn't have a PC. So if all you ever played were console games, GoldenEye was very, very likely during this time frame one of the first-person shooters you ever played. Obviously, we've come leaps and bounds. So what do you think GoldenEye brings to the modern era that every first-person shooter has that's come after it doesn't?
Mainly nostalgia, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But I think this would have to be a smaller experience.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be. I mean, honestly, it would always kind of be like a game mode than a full blown game.
Did you ever play the single player?
I don't know that I had.
Dude, it's really good. At least in my memory, when I played it as someone who was new to this genre as well, as I just mentioned, most people would have been. Like, I played just as much multiplayer with everybody, but I actually enjoyed and was, quote unquote, good at the single player. Like, I made progress and I felt it was a lot of fun because it just goes through like the movie, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the level design I don't know that it would hold up. Is the thing is I haven't played this game in forever, so I only have in my head the memories of this game. But I remember the level design being so much fun. I remember there being like this stealth element to where like maybe you spawn in the bathroom and you're in the air vent above the stall. Maybe you sit up there and you drop a mine down on the toilet and you're just waiting for someone to come by so you can detonate it. Like I don't there aren't a lot of games I feel are like that. Honestly, maybe Fortnite's one of the closest that pops into my head.
That's a good answer. That is exactly what it brought to the table that games these days don't. You're, for the most part, you know the layout perfectly. There's a meta, there's a strategy, and before long, everything's guns blazing. There isn't that kind of spy element because, you know, that's what Bond is. He's a spy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that would be really fun to bring that feature or that, you know, spirit back to those games. And another good point, Fortnite and other battle royales do kind of capture that, but on a huge scale that I don't like to do.
Right, and the smaller scale would be something unique.
Mm-hmm. All right,
that and the golden PB7, one hit, like the one shot kill.
So stupid. PP7. That was a fun name for a gun, man. PP7.
Big PP, baby.
I love the my favorite item or favorite weapon was the proximity mimes. We would just do that and knives. Proximity knives, throwing knives.
Well, and that's the other thing. Custom loadouts, like for the rules of the game. People don't do that anymore.
They might, but I don't play the game, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, but I'm saying like you can make a game. You can make a party where it's like, hey, in this game, here are the rules.
Yeah.
And I also, wasn't there oh man, I might be going crazy, but wasn't there a territory mode as well?
I don't remember that.
I feel like there was like a territory mode of like exploding mines to like get more of the level, but then I might be thinking of Splatoon, but I swear there was like a something, capture the flag or something mode in there.
Maybe. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I went back to that game today and found that I had never even scratched the surface as far as like what it had to offer.
Yeah. But, I mean, it'd be something that would be really hard to pull off because of the IP.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it would be so much fun. It's kind of up there with, like, Tony Hawk. I almost said Tony Hawk, the first one. But, yeah.
I'm glad you went with this one.
Yeah.
Because we have great memories with that game.
Mm-hmm.
But
that game's amazing.
Our friendship was founded on Tony Hawk. We didn't realize it, but it was.
That blue cartridge, man. That sexy blue cartridge.
Man, that was when like you would just play it. That was at an age and both the age we were and of course the age gaming was at the time where you would just play a game because it was fun. And that sounds so stupid to say out loud. But you just played the same dumb level over and over again, trying to get a slightly higher score. Because, I mean, there were unlockables. Like, if you did better on levels, you know, other stuff would unlock. But that's not what the goal was for you. You were just playing because you were having that much fun playing the game.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, maybe you were trying to beat your friends too, but still, like, you would just pass it off and it was your turn, it was his turn, it was his turn, it was his turn. So much fun.
Who could get the higher score? Who could be better? Who could do, this trick? Who could pull off the 900? Who could unlock Bob?
Now, who could faceplant the best?
Oh, yeah. God, man, that game was amazing.
Yeah. Too bad they killed it.
Yeah, they killed it because they're the worst. Or what? But are they the actual worst though?
Yes. Let's officially state that EA is the worst.
Oh, okay.
But someone might make for a good runner-up.
Who would that person be though?
I'm scared.
Okay, so anybody who's listened to any of these podcasts knows we have a segment called Greg is the Worst. Greg is my brother. He works a crazy shift. We never know if he's going to be awake or asleep. We never know if we're going to get our podcast edited on time. I mean, he's 8 for 8, but who knows? He might drop the ball on the 9th one. So we have a little game. Last week, Karch lost, and he predicted Greg would answer the phone, and he did not. Karch lost. I made him play Hatoful Boyfriend. This week, I get to pick, and I say, based on the trends, Greg's going to answer the phone because Greg's never not answered 2 weeks in a row. So let's see.
There's a fallacy
now
somewhere, but I can't remember what it's called.
We'll see. I don't know what the fallacy is, but we'll see. So I'm predicting Greg's going to answer the phone. If I lose, Karch gets to pick a game that I have to play for at least an hour this week and report back on, and it's going to make me miserable. So,
wait.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
Dude, I just won the game.
I hate this.
I'm the best. I'm the best. That's from Dora the Explorer.
Oh, you're right. Wait, that's on the map.
Yeah, but he's doing it to the tune.
Okay.
All right.
You got it.
Hey, what's up, man? Are you at work?
I'm about to be.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for answering the phone.
Yeah, I figured I needed to be the best this week, so.
Okay, see, I told Karch you've never missed 2 weeks in a row. That's why I picked you were going to answer.
Well, I just want some clarification, though. If I'm the worst when I don't answer, I am the best when I do, right?
Sure.
Okay, I'll take it.
Sweet. Hey, you and I need to do another call this week because, first of all, I think I was a little drunk when we were Amazon shopping last night, and those lights are way too big for this room.
No, buy them anyway.
And secondly, the audio interface that we picked is out of stock now.
Oh.
So.
Told you should have drunk about it.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, hey, thanks for answering the phone, man. You made me a winner 2 weeks in a row.
Boom.
I hate you, Kurt.
Okay. Karch says he hates you.
See you guys.
Bye. Hey, when are you going to have this edited by?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow night?
Yep.
Okay, I'll have you the rough files tonight.
Sweet. See you.
Hi, man. Bye. Okay, Karch, are you ready to find out what you're playing?
Yeah.
Do you still have Game Pass?
I still have Game Pass.
You, my friend, are going to be playing the highly touted, well-renowned, and very weird-looking Goat Simulator.
See, this is another fake out because people love this game.
And you said that last week, and you were wrong.
Well, I can't be wrong twice in a row, can I?
I hope not.
I hope not, too.
So you're going to be playing Goat Simulator. You're going to be capturing, hopefully this time, the audio and the video, and we can upload it.
Just do it right now.
What?
I said if I wasn't so tired, I would just do it right now.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I gotta edit it anyway.
It's got 4.1 or 2 stars.
4.12?
4.1 or 4.2. I can't quite tell.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm excited about it. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. And yeah, that's what you're gonna play.
All right, Jason.
Okay. I can't wait, dude. I can't wait. Well, that's all we have for this week, everybody. You can find us at neverfreetoplay.com or patreon.com/neverfreetoplay. Hope you guys all have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play. I feel like we should tell people to like and subscribe and leave comments and leave reviews and stuff.
Sure.
At some point.
Yeah, we got to start working that into.
Yeah.
My battery, 5%.
On what?
My phone.
No, what's your phone have to do with anything?
I'm just saying my phone battery's on 5%.
Okay. Good to know.
All right, stop this so I can upload it.
But wait, I want to talk about how good of an episode this was.
It was a great episode.
It was. Okay, I'm stopping it.
Everybody woke up.